Aloha! Welcome to Lesson 7 of our Natural Cloth Diapering class here on Easy Peasy. In this video, I'm going to show you how to wash and lanolize wool diaper covers. I'm going to show you 2 ways to wash wool diaper covers, depending on if they're just a normal amount dirty or if they're super dirty. And I'm going to show you 4 options for lanolizing wool diaper covers. We'll look at an easy way to get a light level of lanolin, an easy way to get a medium level of lanolin, how to do a complete lanolin bath for a heavy level of lanolin, and also the dry lanolin method. I recommend watching this video all the way through the first time, but when you return back to refer to it, if you want, you can skip ahead to one of the methods. I will leave timestamps in the description box below the video so you can find each washing and lanolizing method easily. First up, when would you wash a wool diaper cover? If you receive a diaper cover new, it's a good idea to wash and lanolize it before using it. If you're going to either be storing or selling a wool diaper cover, you should wash it first and remove the lanolin. For a wool diaper cover that you're currently using on your baby, you'll want to wash it if once it dries out, it still smells like urine. It's okay if it smells a bit while it's damp, but once it's been given time to air dry, it shouldn't stink anymore. If it does, you're going to want to wash it. If the wool diaper cover gets any poop on it, it should be washed. If it was working fine and all of a sudden it's leaking, then it's a good idea to wash and lanolize it again. Although you may also need to increase the absorbency you're using under the diaper cover. In general, with wool diaper covers, you can go about 2 weeks between washes, which is a nice benefit of using wool covers. What is lanolin? Lanolin is a waxy substance that occurs naturally on sheep's wool. Sheep and other wool-bearing animals secrete lanolin from their sebaceous glands under the skin. It coats their wool and it helps them to repel rain, snow, and keep the elements at bay. It's lanolin that causes wool diaper covers to be water repellent and hold moisture inside the diaper cover. Lanolin also neutralizes urine, keeping your woolies smelling fresh. What is felting? Is it good? Is it bad? Do you want it? You don't want it? It can be quite confusing. Felting refers to when you agitate the fibers of wool along with a little bit of soap and warm water. They bunch up, become more tightly knit. They're more bulletproof and less likely to leak, but they also lose some of their stretch. And if you were to felt an entire wool cover, it will shrink. In terms of a Dasana knit wool cover, some people like to felt just the wet zone, so run it under some warm water with a little wool wash and rub it a bit. That helps to tighten it up and it's going to be more bulletproof that way. However, with a knit wool cover like this, you would not want to put it through the washing machine on warm heat because it will shrink and then it'll be doll size. Your baby probably won't be able to wear it anymore. With interlock wool covers, the wool has already been felted before the cover was sewn. You don't want to felt it anymore. If you're going to be sewing your own diaper covers and you want to upcycle wool sweaters, you will want to wash those wool sweaters on warm first before you cut and sew them, just to help make the fibers come tighter together and be better at containing moisture. Let's look at how to hand wash wool diaper covers. This applies either for knit wool diaper covers, which always should be hand washed, or also for interlock wool diaper covers. For this demonstration, I'll be using Kerosene lanolin-free wool wash. Use 1 to 2 tablespoons per gallon of water. Add the wool wash to a bath of tepid or warm water, and then mix it in. The reason for using a wool wash that does not contain lanolin is so that it will remove the remaining lanolin that's still in your wool and really get the wool clean. If you use wash that contains lanolin, you may just keep building up layers of lanolin with dirt trapped underneath. I'm going to submerge this wool soaker into the water. Make sure it all gets underwater. I will be leaving it in here to soak for about 20 minutes or so. The wool tends to float to the surface, so I usually use some sort of weight to hold it submerged under the water. After it has soaked, drain out the water. I squeeze out any of the remaining water and wool wash. and then soak it for a short while more just as a rinse to get out the rest of the wool wash. You can also run it under running water. Just check the temperature of the water and make sure you're not going to shock the wool by using too hot or too cold of water. Then I lay it on a towel and roll it up and squeeze it to remove excess water. And lay flat to dry. Let's look at how to machine wash an interlock wool diaper cover. First, check with the seller and make sure that it is machine washable. The interlock covers from Truly Curious can be washed in the machine. For machine washing, I'll be using Curious and You lanolin-free wool wash. I'm going to be washing these interlock wool capris along with some wool clothing, shirts, socks, and some other items. So I'm just going to put it all into the washing machine. Use 1 to 2 tablespoons of wool wash per gallon of water. Put it in the dispenser for this front loader machine. Set it to delicate hand wash, cold water, and I have it on the low spin speed. Go ahead and start that. And when they come out of the machine, I just lay them flat to dry. Let's look at how to wash extra dirty wool diaper covers or wool clothing. For example, I'm going to be using my daughter's wool raglan shirt from Truly Curious. It got some food and grease on it that I want to get out. I start out by spot cleaning any stains. I'm using Bunch of Farmers stain remover stick. I'll link all these products below so you can find them. And just kind of pinching the fabric to work that stain remover in. Then rinse it with some water. Now I'm going to draw a bath of tepid or warm water. I will be using Curious and You sheep strip, which is super strength lanolin-free wool wash. 1 to 2 tablespoons per gallon of water. I like to stir it around and agitate the water to get the bubbles. My toddler's helping out with this. She always likes to help hand wash her wool. Now I'm going to submerge the wool shirt, make sure the bubbles are getting on it good, kind of massage it into the sheep strip. If the sheep strip doesn't work the first time, you might want to do another soak. I had problem with the water draining out of the sink, so I had to soak it a couple times, and you want to make sure you spot clean really well to start with too. After soaking for about 20 minutes, I drain the water, squeeze out the water and the sheep strip. Check the water temperature, make sure it's not too cold or too hot, and rinse it out some more. Now I'm going to roll it in a towel and squeeze to remove extra moisture. And then I'll place it on my drying rack to finish drying. Let's look at how to wash a wool diaper liner. You don't want any lanolin in that wool diaper liner because then it would just repel the pee back towards your baby. Instead, you want the wool diaper liner to absorb the pee and have it go down into the absorbent layers of your diaper. So make sure you're using a wash that doesn't contain any lanolin in it when you're washing a wool diaper liner. I'm going to be washing this Baby Greens wool diaper liner. This can be used inside the diaper to wick away moisture. I'm going to be using lanolin-free wool wash with it. 1 to 2 tablespoons per gallon of water, adding it to a tepid or warm water bath. I like to mix the water around a bit to get it to bubble. Now I'm going to submerge the wool liner into the water, and I'll let it soak in here for about 20 minutes. Sanitizing used wool diaper covers can be a little tricky. You can freeze your wool diaper covers to get rid of any moth eggs. However, freezing won't completely sterilize them. It won't take care of things such as yeast rush infection. The only method I really know to completely sterilize used wool is to put it into a pan of tepid room temperature water, and then without agitating it at all, slowly bring the water temperature up to almost boiling. Turn off the stove, allow the water to completely cool before you move that wool. Once it's cooled, take the wool out and dry it. Then you'll want to wash and lanolize as normal. But big warning here, if you try putting your wool in water, you do not want heat and agitation at the same time, because that can felt and shrink your wool diaper covers. The hot water may also bleed some color out of your wool diaper covers. So if you want to use this method, use it with caution. I'm not liable if you ruin that used diaper cover attempting to sanitize it this way. If you're going to be storing your wool diaper covers long term, you'll want to put them in a breathable bag, such as a cotton tote with a zipper on it or a cotton pillowcase with a zipper. You can store it with a lavender sachet and some cedar chips to help keep pests away. You don't want little moth larvae eating up your wool investment. Make sure your wool is completely clean and dry before storing. It shouldn't have any lanolin left on it because the lanolin could attract pests that might eat your wool. When it comes time to lanolize, which means to apply lanolin to wool diaper cover, you're going to want to follow one of the methods in this video to get a nice thin coat of lanolin and not end up with blobs all over your wool diaper cover. For an easy way to achieve a light level of lanolin, after you've cleaned your wool, you can use spray lanolin. This works great on woolies for a potty-trained toddler who may possibly have an accident, or to spray inside a wool shirt so it's more moisturizing, and then you can rub it into the fibers. This can also be used if you've spot cleaned an area of your wool and you want to add back some lanolin to that spot. An easy option for getting a medium level of lanolin is to first wash your woolies, either with sheep strip or with a lanolin-free wash, and then to wash them with a lanolin-rich wash. This will replenish some lanolin on the covers and give it about medium coverage. This could be good for daytime wool diaper covers, mama wool, like the pants I ordered, or if you're practicing elimination communication and you're not really having too many misses in the diaper. After washing with the Lano-free wash, you can go straight on to the Lano-rich wash without drying in between. After the Lano-rich wash, you'll want to lay flat to dry. For this example, I'll start by washing with lanolin-free wool wash. Use 1 to 2 tablespoons per gallon of water, and I'll add the wool wash to a tepid or warm water bath. Mix it around. Now I'm going to submerge these wool bubble shorts into the bath. Make sure all of them are underwater. I'll use some weights to hold down the bubble shorts so they don't just float back up to the top. Now that they've soaked for 20 minutes, I'm going to drain the water. Squeeze out the water, and then I'll rinse them under some running water. Now for the lanolizing step, I will be using lanolin-rich wool wash, approximately 1 tablespoon per gallon of water. You can see how it's this milky white appearance. The lanolin has already been emulsified in there. And mix it into the water. So even though it's called a wash, this is really for lanolizing your wool. I like to mix it around really well to make sure the lanolin's evenly distributed in the water. Now I'm going to submerge the bubble shorts. I like to have the wool diaper covers inside out when I'm doing the lanolizing step, so it gets a heavier level of lanolin on the inside where the diaper will be. Soak for 20 minutes and then drain out the water. Squeeze out the water. Now I'm going to roll it in a towel and squeeze to remove extra moisture. And lay flat to dry, but not in direct sunlight as to not sun bleach them. For a heavy level of lanolin, you'll want to wash first, and then take your clean woolies, either when they're still wet or once they've dried, and you're going to prepare a lanolin bath using solid lanolin and some type of emulsifying soap. Since lanolin is a wax, it doesn't like to mix with water. So if you try to just mix hot water and lanolin, you're going to get just little blobs of lanolin floating on the surface. When you're doing a lanolin bath, you need to do what's called emulsifying the lanolin into the water. That means when something doesn't want to mix with water, you use an emulsifying agent to help get this waxy substance evenly distributed throughout the water, and it will end up looking like a milky substance. We're going to be using an E-bar to help emulsify the lanolin, but you could also use some wool wash or baby wash, some sort of soap, to get this to distribute throughout the water. You'll soak your woolies in this lanolin bath for approximately 20 or 30 minutes before taking them out, squeezing out some of the water with a towel, or you could run them through just a spin cycle on your washing machine and then lay them flat to dry. For this example, I'm using Kerosene U solid lanolin. My tap water isn't quite hot enough, so I boil some water and then allow it to cool a bit before adding it to a jar. I use an oven mitt to make sure I don't burn myself. Use approximately 1 teaspoon of solid lanolin per item that you're going to lanolize, but this will vary. A pair of longies is going to need more lanolin than a newborn wrap cover would. Go ahead and start stirring the solid lanolin into the hot water. You can see how it just floats on top, but it doesn't want to mix with the water. For emulsifying, I'm using a piece of E-bar. I'm going to start mixing that with the lanolin in the hot water. We want to get it all the way dissolved into the water. Looking on top, I can still see some of the yellow lanolin floating, so I'm going to add more of the E-bar in and continue stirring. Try to get that lanolin completely emulsified. It's looking better now. The emulsion will turn into an opaque, milky white liquid. Then once that's mixed, you're going to want to let that mixture cool down to the same temperature as your tepid, warm, room temperature bath before mixing the two together. If the temperatures are too different, the lanolin might come out of the emulsion. Now I'm going to add the emulsified lanolin into a slightly warm bath. It can be tepid to slightly warm water. Make sure it all gets in there. Stir it around a bit to make sure the lanolin's evenly distributed. It should be nice and white and milky, and you don't want to see any blobs of lanolin floating on the top of the surface once you've prepared the lanolin bath. I'm adding these wool capris and submerging them. I like to have them inside out, so I'll get a heavy layer of lanolin on the inside. I leave them in the lanolin bath for at least 20 minutes. Before draining the water. Be careful not to use too warm of water in your lanolin bath, or it might cause more bleeding of color from your wool. Now I'm going to squeeze out the water and roll them in a towel and squeeze to remove excess water. Then I will lay flat to dry. Let's look real quickly at the dry method of lanolizing. This is not going to distribute the lanolin as evenly around the diaper cover, so it might not give as good a protection. But if you're in a pinch and you just don't have time to make a lanolin bath, or perhaps your lanolin bath is just not working out, you could use this dry method of lanolizing. For the dry lanolin method, I'm using Kerosene U solid lanolin, and I'm starting with a clean, dry wool diaper cover. Take about a pea-sized amount of the solid lanolin and rub it between the palm of your hands to melt it. We're in warm weather here, so it's already pretty melted. And then once you've got it nice and melted, pat it into the wet zone, mostly, of the cloth diaper cover. This one's all bunched up, so I'm gonna kind of stretch it out, get it in there good. And once you've patted it in, Just try to massage it, get it evened out, and try to make sure you're coating all of the wet zone with the lanolin. This is why it might not give as good of a coverage as a lanolin bath, because if you happen to miss some spots, just go ahead and work it in there. That wraps up lesson 7 on how to wash and lanolize wool diaper covers. If you're going to refer back to this video later, you can find timestamps in the description box below for each method of washing and lanolizing. Please subscribe and turn on notifications so you'll be notified each time a new lesson is released. Up next in lesson 8, we will cover cloth diaper services, what they are, how they work, and why you might want to hire one. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share with your friends. Let's make cloth mainstream.